Ramachandra sir, do we have our today's speaker with us and Himanshu sir with us?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just calling him.
Okay.
Madam, sir will be joining in 5 minutes.
Okay. Rakesh sir actually messaged me that he is not connecting. So I'm just calling him. Okay. Rakesh sir is trying to join. Okay. I sent him a link on a mail also. So definitely he will be able to join because I joined from the same link which I have sent him.
Okay,
So maybe some
madam.
connectivity error. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Himanshu sir joined, madam.
Okay. Very warm welcome to Himanshu sir. And warm welcome to Nachiketa sir and today's chairperson, Dr. Tej Bahadur Singh. Sir, Himanshu sir and Nachiketa sir and chairperson sir, we are waiting for the speaker to join. He is having a little difficulty, some technical difficulty in joining. So soon he will be with us. Very good afternoon, sir. Himanshu sir, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am. Very good afternoon.
So, sir, we are waiting for the speaker to join. He is having some technical difficulty. Definitely, he will join.
It's okay, never mind. It's okay, never mind.
Yeah. सर रामचंद्र सर आप देखते रहिएगा कि राकेश सर ज्वाइन कर लिए हैं क्या अदरवाइज मैं उनको एक बार और कोऑर्डिनेट करूंगी फिर बात करूंगी
सर कौन से ईमेल आईडी से ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं मैडम
आई विल टेल यू It's a Dr. Rakesh Chodda @gmail.com.
ठीक है मैम अभी तक तो नहीं आए हैं
ओके
Dear participants, we will be providing the feedback link before the question answer session. So this link is available for today's program. Tomorrow there will be another link for tomorrow's program, and then on 10th again there will be another feedback link for the 10th program for e-certificates.
I had coordinated with today's speaker. He is trying to join. Due to some technical difficulty, he couldn't do it till now. So I think within couple of minutes he will be able to join us.
Okay, ma'am. Madam, sir has joined.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for informing me. Otherwise, I was just about to
Yes,
send
sir.
him an email link, and second time.
And
So very warm welcome to today's speaker also. Uh, so uh, yeah. So today we are going to have a webinar and discussion over the topic of a mental health for all, psychosocial perspective. And definitely I will introduce we have today's chairperson. We as a today's chairperson we have Dr. Tegh Bahadur Singh. He is a very renowned clinical psychologist. He had a position of a professor. He retired as a HOD, and he's a professor in clinical psychology at Institute of Human Behavior and Life Sciences, New Delhi. He has a very instrumental and a key role in establishing that premier institute. So he not only worked there, he was a part of the founder team of the EHBAS. And we are really grateful, sir, that today you are here with us. We have Dr. Himanshu Das with us as a guest. Very warm welcome to you, sir. Himanshu sir has a very long experience in this you can say that in young age. He was a director of the National Institute of Empowerment of Persons with Disability, Chennai. He headed the National Institute of Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disability as a director also. And at present, he is a director of the National Institute of Empowerment for Persons with Visual Disability. So, sir is not headed the one institute as a director, but he has headed a various institution as a national institution as a director. So really we are grateful to you, sir. Definitely just before this session we actually uh, hear you in another program also. So very warm welcome to you, sir. Today we have a Nachiketa sir. He at present he is having he is officiating director of the National Institute of Empowerment of Persons with Disability. But that is not only his introduction. He is a very instrumental in the field of speech and hearing, and very instrumental in developing the content, and especially the audio visual content for the hearing person with hearing impairment. He is associate professor in speech and hearing at National Institute of Empowerment of Persons with Disability, also having additional charge of director there. And now I will introduce, not fully introduce, definitely it will be the part of the chairperson who will formally introduce the today's speaker. But definitely I will, he is a very renowned psychiatrist of India. At present, he is a professor at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and he is heading the Department of Psychiatry there. Sir is very instrumental in the field of psychiatry, in field of mental health, and definitely we will get a very rigorous and exhaustive presentation and enlightenment from his side. And you people will get very soon, you people will get a formal introduction of the sir by the TB Singh sir. Sir, if the chairperson will allow me, so I can formally start. And can I, TB Singh sir, may I formally start it, and can we begin up the session with the inaugural speech? So maybe sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Dr. Rakesh Kumar Chadha, Himanshu Das ji, Nachiketa Raut ji, and their team and all the participants. Yes, you can go ahead now.
Okay, thank
we
you.
invite. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Without compromising with
Okay.
the time, you should start.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So I will request Himanshu Das sir to kindly enlighten us with his kind words.
Thank you so much, Pragati ji. Honorable, my very dear Dr. T.B. Singh sir, the former HOD of IVAS and President of ISCP formerly. सर को तो पता भी नहीं होगा, हम उनके बहुत ही पुराने 25 साल के डिस्टेंस मोड के स्टूडेंट है. So whatever we would be talking or speaking, basically all are learning from his experiences and his speeches. Such an eminent person in the field with so much of contribution, it's very difficult to be talking in front of him. And then Rakesh Kumar Chadha ji, very well known. He is now globally famous for his services, HOD, Secretary Department, AIMS. We all know him very well from his lot of contribution to the field of mental health. My dear colleague, Nachiketa Raut ji, the director of NIPMED, and of course, Pragati ji now taking sort of initiatives to run this NIMHR, and Rajesh ji and all our colleagues. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. In fact, I was wondering, because I'm not a clinical psychologist nor a psychiatrist, what I should be talking about. So it is better if I talk about certain aspects which had been very close to my heart, that I have been feeling so much, both in relation to the stakeholders in the field of disability, the persons with disabilities that we are dealing, and the mental health professionals, and also the people, those who are getting mental health care from us. My points would actually be passing through, cutting across to all the target groups that has been we had been dealing with. First observation is, as a country, we have given up our tradition. We have given up our Indian ethos, Indian values. We have given up our joint family system, the traditional systems, the traditional cultures, the kind of bonding that we used to have as a society, as a community, that we have given up. And we have ended up with a culture of extreme competition and very less cooperation, very less sense of co-living, co-learning, and coexisting. Under such circumstances, unless we are able to revive this very concept of living itself, we may end up in a very pathetic world. Because when you talk about mental health for all, we all know today 1 in 4 person is affected today with mental health issues, and only 1/3 of these people are actually reaching any kind of services when you talk of mental health. We all know there's gross lack of mental health services, mental health infrastructure. Forget about rehabilitation, even the basic services are not there. Under such circumstances, it is individual social responsibility and community social responsibility which can only save this country. When I visited many of the countries abroad, and when I see my own country, my very neighborhood country, we just share one river. My next country is Bhutan. When I have visited countries like Finland, Denmark, Netherlands, and this very own country I have grown as a neighbor, Bhutan, I realized certain very grossly something is different than India, which is happening today, which perhaps India was the epitome of all the things that should have been happening, and now unfortunately we are moving in a different direction when you talk of mental health for all. Now let us say leisure and recreation for all. These are the few countries, few communities that believe in such statements: leisure and recreation for all, exercise and physical health for all, games and sports for all, family activities for all, community activities for all, volunteership by all, donate and give others by all. School mental health wellness program is in place in all these good countries. Hobbies for all. Individual social responsibility for all. Making every human, every individual in the society, those will be available, accessible, and approachable for all. Promoting traditional celebrations and event, and in certain cases, psychosocial adaptation of the disadvantaged group. These are few of the very, very different kind of initiatives which are largely seen in many of the good practices.
I think there is some technical error in the part of Himanshu sir. Hope he will soon join us again. Because Dehradun is situated in some mountain hilly area, so sometimes this difficulty used to come.
I think, ma'am, the connection is lost from his side.
Okay.
Now he's again joined.
Yes, sir.
He has joined, madam. He has joined.
Okay.
Pragati ji, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
I'm so sorry. I have joined in from a different line. There's some problem which my computer went off. Very sorry, TB Singh sir. Very sorry, Rakesh ji. I'm extremely sorry. So we're working on this empathy development curriculum because we realized whether it is mental illness, emotional problems, or children with disabilities, because most of our population, intellectual disability, autism, they eventually end up with a lot of mental health issues. So we realized the core issue was empathy, missing of empathy in the Indian population. So we started working on empathy development curriculum for young children. So we involved our professionals to work on school-based empathy development curriculum, which was a very, very successful initiative. That was a very good sort of a movement that we actually tried on. Second thing that we tried on was resilience development program for different categories of persons with disabilities, parents, siblings, and professionals, those who are working for disabilities, because we realize these groups are further much more vulnerable to mental health issues. So such resilience development program that NIPMED under the direction of now Director Nachiketa Saab, I hope will be taken up as a national program across the country so that these persons with hearing impairment, youth especially with hearing impairment, visual impairment, intellectual disability, autism, multiple disability, their parents, their siblings, and the professionals, those who are undergoing in-service training program, and the professionals, those who are working with them under a lot of extreme stress. So we hope such resilience development program will become a national program. So in long term, I'd like to say empathy development program, resilience development program is the way forward, because fighting mental illness is much more difficult than actually introducing mental wellness programs across the country. So with this short speech, I'd like to sort of request the chairperson and Dr. Rakesh Kumarji to take over. Thank you so much. It has been a big privilege to be actually seeing TB Singh sir and Rakesh sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Pranam, sir.
Pragati madam,
Thank you.
we have Madam Shruti Rini, sign language interpreter from CRC Gorakhpur. So she will be doing the sign language part also.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So already chairperson in there. With the permission of a chair, I would like to now invite and hand over the web mic to Nachiketa sir for today's keynote. Welcome, sir.
Namaskaram, all of you. It's a wonderful afternoon with such eminent speakers. I'm absolutely humbled by the presence of Dr. TB. We had a webinar, international webinar, where we were taking pride in the way NIMHR was established. And how many of us know that when you see the bylaws of NIMHR, you can find Dr. TB Singh's signatures there. So he's of that stature.
Yeah. Thank you.
I know him. I've heard him once, and I'm humbled. He was instrumental in establishing out the Department of Clinical Psychology with number of researches which were done, and still we are there, sir. So again, thank you, sir. Ibhat, you have established out. So आपके लगाए हुए पेड़ के फल हम लोग खा रहे हैं, नया तो कुछ लगाया नहीं हम लोगों ने, अनुग्रहित है और धन्यवाद। And I'm absolutely humbled out to have Dr. Rakesh here from AIMS, who is doing this, who would be the key speaker for this particular session. Dr. Himanshu Das, we have grown up together, from humble beginnings to different places, and sir has been always a friend, philosopher, guide to me. Pragati madam, she's taking care of NIMHR. Rajesh Ramachandran ji, Dr. Amarnath, all of you coordinating this entire program. The topic is mental health for all, psychosocial perspective. And one thing, before we start, we are talking about quite a bit of mental health, and the number of people whom I can see here on the video clippings. How many of us can just have a smile on our face when we are just looking into the cameras? ना हमारे जेब में अगर 1 रुपया ना हो तो हम चौवन्नी किसी को दे सकते हैं क्या? नहीं दे सकते हैं ना। मेंटल हेल्थ हेल्पलाइन चलाने से थोड़ी होता है, हमारे पास उतनी सुकून होनी चाहिए इधर ताकि हम बांट सके लोगों को, है ना। तो बाकी का बेकार फॉर्मेलिटी हो जाएगा, खोखली बातें हो जाएंगी सर। तो जरूरी है कि कम से कम जो देख रहे हैं माइक के वीडियो कैमरा में थोड़ा मुस्कुराएं, क्या मुश्किल है। No, there may be a science of living, but there is an art to it actually, which needs to be practiced on a daily basis. It's tough. We need to have a choice whether to smile or not to smile and face life. The other choice, to smile and face life, is tough. It needs to be practiced out time in and again. More than knowing the principles of clinical psychology, it is more important to know this part, and this has to become a culture, right? So today's topic is very apt. Mental health for all, the psychosocial perspective. When we say psychosocial, it just means that pertaining to the influence of social factors on the individual's mind and behavior, which means that if the entire society is behaving in a particular way, then that starts affecting our mind and behavior. So what has gone wrong? Something really must have gone wrong that we are saying 1 in 4 people are having some amount of mental illness. So Himanshu sir was saying the fundamental change in terms of the thought of the society. It has changed everything, even the diseases. Earlier we used to hear people die because of cholera, plague. But nowadays what do we hear? We hear people die because of individual diseases like heart attack, blood pressure, sugar, diabetes, etc. So even diseases have changed out in terms of their prevalences. Our family structures have changed. There's a gentleman who has a sister who has pulse polio paralysis and who works with us. So he says that we never knew that my sister had some type of a orthopedical, a locomotor disability and a challenge, because it was our family which was taking care of it, and it never came as a burden. But now with the emergence of families which are much more nuclear in nature, the entire burden is ours. We have to earn. Now everybody is earning, but everybody is poor. Everybody is poor, then everybody would be needy and unhappy. So it's a vicious circle. I don't know what to say about this, but this is what is happening out. Probably that is the psychosocial change which has happened. Everybody stands for himself. The cohesion part of it, the social responsibility part of it, has slowly regressed out. We start committing out suicide because there's a difficult examination which is coming up. We start committing out suicide because we think that we are capable and we should be getting this, but somebody is depriving us from that particular right. We start committing out suicide because our beloved, either there's a failure in the love affair or there is something which has happened out. We start committing suicide because people have started speaking out something which has affected us. Some 7,000 years ago, there was a young prince who actually was sent to a Gurukul, and by 15 years of age, when he came back, then there was another gentleman, somebody known as Vishwamitra, who said, fine, I want this, both of them. They should be coming with me to the forest hermitage where I live in, and they should be killing in a set of Rakshas or demons who are disturbing me. Now, 15, 16-year-old prince, no, they're walking down to the forest, not thinking about, oh God, we are losing out everything. Why we should go? Why me? Why me? Why me? They walk down. They do something, they come back, and the next day, the gentleman is going to become a king. And finally, a sermon comes in. Nobody says anything to him. A sermon comes in, and he has to go for exile for 14 years. And look at that. His brother and his wife are ready to go with him. He goes down, travels out alien lands, doesn't commit a suicide, doesn't cry also. Smiles out. You should be reading out Tulsidas, the way he responds out to life. He smiles back, comes back, he stays somewhere there, and somebody picks up his wife. He doesn't collapse out, doesn't commit a suicide, doesn't curse out life. With all patience goes down, brings back, and we know the entire story. It's there, true for everybody. That's the art of life which we have been following up. So we're losing out that particular social phenomenon also. We are losing out all references which we had. We are a 10,000-year-old civilization. The moment we are into such a webinar, we start behaving as if a 200-year-old civilization will be teaching us what to do, what not to do, how to behave, how not to behave. And we surrender, absolutely surrender, with both the hands up, saying that, okay, yes, they will teach us what is to be done. So it is high time that we start reinventing out the art which we have mastered out for the last 10,000 years. Something must be there in us. So here there are a panel of clinical psychologists, people who have worked out quite a bit in this field, people who have made their impact, people who have done everything possible for the field. We hope that we will learn out the art of living from all of you and lead a much more happier and peaceful and satisfied life for the period which is negligible in terms of the existence which is available to us, happily, and then disappear off. I thank the organizers for conducting this program and bringing all the eminent people to us. Thank you, Dr. Tej Bahadur Singh. We are indebted, obliged that you have spared your valuable time. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. Thank you, Dr. Himanshu Das. Thank you, Pragati ma'am. Thank you for conducting this particular program.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. Now, without wasting a single second, now I'm handing over the web mic to two living legends of the in field of clinical psychology and in psychiatry. So I'm handing it over to Dr. Tej Bahadur Singh, today's chairperson, to conduct the session.
Thank you, Pragati. Thank you, Dr. Nasiketa, Dr. Himanshu, for your kind words. At the same time, I am also thankful to Dr. Rakesh Chadha and welcome him in this webinar. A person who has really worked in the area of psychosocial rehabilitation of severely mentally ill. And we work together in IBHAS. NIVH, or now the NIPBD, was my first home. And from there, International Year for the Disabled, that has given an impetus for the disability area and rehabilitation area. But at that time, we were not talking about mental health and clinical psychology or psychiatry. But it's good now. These things are accepted and has become part and parcel of academic and professional discussion as well as in training. I will just like to share what Dr. Chadha has done and his quantum of work by way of his CV. We'll spare 2 minutes and then we will listen him. I will not come in between you and him. Professor Chadha is heading AIMS as HOD's Department of Psychiatry. At the same time, he is chief of National Drug Dependence Treatment Center. That's also very important work. That area also is of rehabilitation. And mental health, crime, drug addiction. All these three problems must think all three things are rising. We say only mental health problems. No. Criminal tendency is also increasing. He's fellow Royal College of Psychiatrists, UK, International Distinguished Fellow, American Psychiatric Society, Honorary Fellow, World Association of Social Psychiatry, Fellow National Academy of Medical Sciences, India, Secretary General of World Association of Social Psychiatry. I think he was very active in this. And I think we interacted together. He always invited me to be there in the conference. And then a member editorial board of British Journal of Psychiatry. Then recipient of 50 prestigious national awards, orations. And he has 250 publications, 6 books and monographs published in British Journal of Psychiatry, American Journal of Psychiatry, Lancet and Science. There are no parallel magazines, very important worldwide. ACTA Psychiatria, Scandinavia, General Hospital Psychiatry, Psychiatric Psychosomatic Medicine. So, with this introduction, specifically, I would like to mention that his contribution to the area of psychosocial rehabilitation is well known in the country as well as outside the country. And he organized so many national and international conferences in India, in AIMS. Last was International Society for Addiction Medicine, I think this year in February. And we worked together in IBHAS, like you are saying, the founder, member of the department and founder, professional and academician to initiate the work of rehabilitation, psychosocial rehabilitation for severely mentally ill. Dr. Rakesh Kumar Chadha is a well-known name. So I will invite him with this introduction to deliver his speech. Dr. Rakesh Kumar Chadha, please.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर टीबी सिंह जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मेरी इतनी बड़ी इंट्रोडक्शन करने के लिए और फॉर इनवाइटिंग टू फॉर दिस लेक्चर. डॉक्टर हिमांशु दास जी, नचिकेता राउत जी और प्रगति पांडे जी, it gives me a great pleasure to be here for making a presentation on mental health, psychosocial issues. I'll just try to share my presentation.
You have slides?
Yeah, I have slides. So I thought that it looks better with the slides. Just give me a minute. वो लीला कोई नहीं। I'll just start. I have been I have been speaking on mental health, psychosocial perspectives. Mental health is a part of integral part of health. As we all know, it's nearly more than 70 years ago when the World Health Organization was formed, 1948. It gave the definition of health. That health is mental health. Health is a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and it's not just absence of an illness. Giving the same corollary, the mental health is not just absence of mental illness. ये देखो share कैसे करना है? Screen share करना है। ये लोगों को sign करना है। कोई बात नहीं वो
पढ़ा रहे अभी पढ़ा रहे दादाजी, अभी बैठिए दादी के साथ।
शेयर स्टार्ट हो जाएगा। शेयर क्या करें? नहीं कोई स्क्रीन जो था ना ये ओपन कर दिया, ओपन किया
चल पापा आएगा,
जा रहा है। अच्छा ठीक है।
Yeah, that's pretty. We can see now.
Okay, thank you. So same way, mental health is not just absence of mental disorders or disabilities. It's much more than that. Then what is mental health in that case? If we go by who is a person who is mentally healthy, a person is who is happy. Just we had the previous presenter was saying to smile, everyone to smile. So smiling or happiness is a part of being mentally healthy. Who has comforts of life? Again, it's a bit questionable. A person may have all comforts of life, but may not be mentally healthy. Person who has fulfilled his ambitions. Again, this comes as a part of is associated with the mental health. Who is respected by others. Again, this gives you a feeling of fulfillment, that I am regarded by others. Whom we consider successful, whom the society considers successful. So these are some of the components which we consider as indicators of mental health. WHO has given a definition of mental health on the similar lines, a state of well-being. Now here we are just saying well-being, and this well-being includes physical as well as mental health. The absence of physical illness, absence of mental illness, because that is a component for being mentally healthy. But it's not just absence of mental illness, there are a number of other things. Realization of one's own abilities and ability to use those, your abilities, ability to cope with the normal stresses of life, to work productively and to make a contribution to one's community. So these are the different components of mental health. And mental health and well-being are fundamental to collective and individual ability as humans to think, to feel, and to interact with each other and to earn a living and enjoy life. So these are some basic components of mental health. I'll be discussing other issues related to how, what are the psychosocial aspects of mental health, what are the factors which affect mental health positively and adversely, what have been the different policies which have been undertaken by the government of India for the persons who have mental illnesses. I won't be discussing much about the mental illnesses. I will be discussing mainly about the mental health and mental health prevention of mental disorders, mental health promotion, how can improve our mental health. Those are the things which I'll be discussing, which are relevant to, I think, to most of the audience. Now, what determines mental health? Mental health, as I said, that to be having good mental health, a person should not be having a physical illness also. At a because absence of physical illness is also an essential component of mental health. So this includes genetic factors, good physical health, good nutrition, physical environment. For example, if physical environment is not conducive, in the recent there have been a lot of concerns about the rising pollution in the big cities. So the pollution also has an adverse effects on the mental health. And unhealthy lifestyle. You just remain confined to your home. You don't move around. You don't do any physical exercise. You indulge, keep on taking drugs, alcohol. So all these things, they would affect your mental health. So these are some of the important biological or physical components of mental health. Coming to the psychological, one's personality. Some people are by nature, they are anxiety prone. They are kind of suspicious. Some people are very energetic. Some people would worry over minor things. Some are happy and go lucky. Some would keep on boasting about, would be very ambitious. Some are very punctual. So these are the different kinds of personalities. But excess of any personality aberrations like suspiciousness, excessive demonstrativeness, over ambitiousness. So these were the things which would affect mental health adversely. Similarly, psychological stressors, stressful events, loss of, loss of livelihood, unemployment, and which has been happening in the recent past. COVID pandemic has played a number of, led to a number of problems, economic crisis, employment. As such, general fear, it's a kind of a kind of phobia has come in the community that if you don't such a widespread infection. So these things also, the environmental factors, they also would affect the mental health. And how do you cope with the different situations? A positive coping, a constructive coping, adaptive coping, problem solving, using problem solving techniques, seeking social support. So these are the things which would lead to good mental health, and will protect you from mental illness. Social poverty, even like education is important for achieving at least a moderate level of education is required for any kind of profession. So that way, education has education also helps in improving your adjustments, understanding of the situations. Any rapid social change that would be affecting mental health adversely. Stress at work, gender discrimination, which is more common in our society, but it's seen even in the Western societies also. You'll find the heads of most of the institutions would be males, not ladies. Social exclusion, exposure to violence, post-war, the countries which are exposed to war, like there was a lot of rise in the mental disorders after the 2 world wars. In Kashmir, in the state of Kashmir, which has been in the state of constant turmoil, there is a lot of prevalence of mental disorders, right? Violation of human rights, lack of housing. So there are a number of social, psychological, biological factors which determine mental health. In this slide, I have just tried to show what are the different kinds of stressors which occur at different stages of life. Some of the stressors, some of the events associated with positive health. For example, these things like shown in supportive teaching, education, resisting peer pressure. This is more often in the school or college days. Like peer pressure, there is often a peer pressure to take drugs or peer pressure to do some other things. Resisting peer pressures for doing any adverse things, peer pressure for, say, like often there would be peer pressure to don't go for classes, let's go for a movie, let's go for an outing. So those kind of peer pressures, if one is able to resist, definitely that contributes to positively towards some mental health, social engagement. physical activity, mental activity, these would be affecting throughout the life. They would be conducive to good mental health. Parenting skills, early home experiences, for example, childhood trauma is associated with adverse mental health, loss of a parent during early childhood, antisocial behavior, stealing, uh, indulging in vandalism, teenage pregnancies, smoking, drug and alcohol abuse, there would be affecting the mental health adversely. Social exclusion, constant stress, presence of chronic physical illness. Here I would say chronic physical illness, because mental illness as such is a indicator of you are going into bad mental health. And as you go old, the post-retirement, age-related cognitive decline, as well as physical challenges, and retirement as such is a big stressor. So this is how your life cycle is affected by. There are a number of factors which would improve your mental health. Others would affect your mental health adversely. Some of things which protect you from from help you in maintaining good health is stay away from drug and alcohol use. Regular physical activity, keep your mental activity, even in the because the mental activity protects you against age-related cognitive decline. Social stimulation, balanced diet. So these are so many things which help you in maintaining good health, and also staying away from some of the things. Now, how mental health affects physical health? Yeah, I was saying that physical health, if one has a physical illness, it adversely affects mental health. Similarly, if one does not have a good mental health, that affects your physical health. Like if you're anxious, you are depressed, that affects your hormonal functioning, that affects your immune functioning. Many times you might have noticed that when you're feeling stressed, you tend to get a cold, you tend to get more ill, you tend to make aches and pains, body aches. So any stressful event that would affect your physical health indirectly through affecting your immunity, your body strength. So that's how there's an increased susceptibility to get physical illnesses and like cold, even so many cardiac illnesses, heart illnesses, bronchial asthma gets precipitated by stress, headaches. So many illnesses they are affected by if the one is not feeling, one is feeling low, one is feeling anxious. So that affects your physical health. Now, what are the early signs of mental illness or effects on the mental health? I'll be briefly discussing about this thing. A change in day-to-day routine for no obvious reason. It's important to know because anyone in your family, anyone in your professional circle may develop mental health problems. So how we can detect? So from that angle, these are some screening signs. A day-to-day routine, a person who was very regular, very punctual in coming to his office and for his job, and is often he is getting late, often he is found sleeping, missing. Sometimes he leaves his work in between. So that's an indicator of that there is something adverse is happening. Social withdrawal, person stops talking, stops withdrawing, does not interact with others, becoming unnecessarily over-emotional or aggressive, losing interest in day-to-day activities, losing concentration, forgetfulness, indecisiveness, persistent low mood, sadness, feeling guilty, fatigue, apathy, irritability, losing confidence, losing hope, getting help, feeling hopelessness, irrational fears, getting suspicious of everyone, feeling fearful, person start doubting others. Your sleep gets affected. You don't feel like eating. So these are some of the common features which indicate indicate that there is something wrong in the mental health, and person may be having some mental health issues, and there is a need for consulting a psychiatrist. Now, how mental health is further, why it is important to be mentally healthy. It has been seen that mental and substance use disorders, they are the leading global cause of non-fatal burden of disease. When I say non-fatal, this is very important to know. Till 1990s, that's how the health budgeting is done. Any illness which leads to early death would be considered as a serious illness. All the health budget would be directed to that. Like you are working in area of rehabilitation. This is one area which has often not been given due importance, except in last 20, 30, 40 years, there has been a gradual focus on it. That is because of this phenomena, this word, years lived with disability, this concept, disability adjusted life years. There was a study called Global Burden of Disease, which was done by the World Bank as well as the WHO and Harvard's University. And they compared different illnesses, how they affect the life. And disability adjusted means that life years which have been affected by disability. So this includes, like, a person dies at the age of 40 years or 30 years. So the person has lost 30 or 40 years of his productive life. So earlier all health budgeting was done on the basis of that how many years person has lost because of an early death. But a person of schizophrenia, a person who is suffering from, say, intellectual disability or mental retardation, a person who has got some other physical disability, often his lifespan remains the same, but he is not able to productively contribute to the society because of those years of disability. So those years of disability were counted in this disability adjusted life years, besides the years lost to life because of an early death. So by this concept, they found that the mental health, the mental disorders, they are the fifth leading disorder category which contributes to the disability adjusted life years. That's the importance. And that's how in last 30 years, if you see, you must have observed, the budget towards the rehabilitation side has increased to some extent, not to the level that it's required, but it's at least there has been some focus on. I'll be discussing some more details about this thing. Now, briefly, these are the figures which are have come from the National Mental Health Survey, which was conducted recently by NIMHANS and ICMR, in which we found the life prevalence of mental disorder is 13.7%, and the annual prevalence is 10.5%. This did not include the alcohol and substance use. When we are talking about the 25% prevalence, that includes the substance use disorders. And when we talk about the different mental disorders, the tobacco use disorders, which is considered a very minor thing, this is the commonest mental disorder. And this is not only a mental disorder. The way tobacco affects your physical health, the way it leads to lung cancer, the way it leads to throat cancer, heart illnesses, so many problems. So it's a very serious problem. Alcohol. So all these things have together contribute to the global burden of disease to a large extent. This is the study which I was referring to, Global Burden of Disease study of 1990, which was published in 1993. And this study has been repeated every 10 years, every 5 years, to see the changes, if there have been any changes in the burden caused due to different disorders, so that accordingly the budgets are allocated. Like, for example, infectious diseases have become less common in the Western societies. These days, there has been more focus on the non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases includes the cardiac illnesses, heart illnesses, musculoskeletal disorders, different kinds of arthritis, and mental disorders, and the substance use disorders, including the neurological disorders. And mental, neurological, and substance use disorders, in this original study, it was estimated that they contribute to 10.5% of the total disability-adjusted life years. There was a GBD 2010. After that, 2016 have also come, in which they have estimated the burden because of the mental disorders, and mental disorders have now been consistently identified as a leading global cause of non-fatal burden of disease. Non-fatal means diseases which don't lead to death, and it's the 5th leading disorder category of global disability-adjusted life years. And this burden is spent all across all age groups. Thus, mental disorders, they contribute a big challenge because of high prevalence, chronicity, inadequate mental health resources, a large untreated population. It has been seen that nearly 70 to 90% of the patients who suffer from mental health problems or mental disorders in our country, this figure is like it's 70% for schizophrenia, it's 90% for substance use disorders. Like 90% of the persons with the drug use problems, they don't go take treatment or don't go for treatment. And there have been a number of barriers to this. Like there is a lack of awareness, there are lack of facilities. Yeah, so because of which, I would give you a very interesting example. In last 15 years at AIIMS, I have seen at least 4 patients who were living in the campus for years together, 10, 12, 15 years, and they never bothered to come for treatment. So that's the kind of lack of awareness. A person who is living within a distance of 200 to 500 meters in the campus, and that too in AIIMS, it's not a some remote part of the country, and they have not bothered to come for the treatment. They came for treatment, like husband of one of the patients died, one of the persons died, and the lady was brought to the hospital that she gets a certificate that she can get the job on the compensation ground. And at that time, the illness was detected, and she was suffering from schizophrenia for a number of years. So such is the kind of lack of awareness about the mental disorders. So these are the barriers which are specific to India. Mental health is a low priority in policy making and budget allocation. Like, for example, in our country, our health budget, as you would be aware, is just about 1.2, 1.3%. The total health budget is 4%, but the 3-4% is contributed by the person himself or herself. The government does not pay anything for the health. The government pays just 1%, 1.2%. And mental health is just 1% of that 1%. Like, so you would say 1 in 10,000. So that's the priority which is given to the mental health. And in other countries, the budget for mental health goes to the extent of 8 to 10%. So this is a situation in our country. Unfortunately, we have not been, no one listens to health remains a very low priority, and rehabilitation, all of you are from this field, you also know that how much priority is given to the rehabilitation. But there have been a number of initiatives in India in the recent past, or last 40 years, I would say, towards the mental health. In fact, last 5-6 years have been much more active. India was one of the first countries to launch the National Mental Health Program. That was in 1982, almost 40 years, though nothing much happened in the first 10 or 15 years. But in the last 10 years, or last, I would say 20 years, gradually there has been more pumping of budget in the district mental health program. We have covered most of the districts in the country with the district mental health program. Then we came out with a mental health policy in 2014, mental health came in 2017. I'll be briefly discussing about these. And Rights of Persons with Disability Act, which includes all disabilities and has also included the mental disability, which was not there, which was not a focus or was not given any major importance in the earlier act, though it had been introduced in the Persons with Disability Act of 1995, but the focus has increased and the benefits which have been given to the different persons with different disabilities that has been increased. The National Mental Health Program, which came in 1982, it had the objectives of ensuring availability, accessibility of minimal mental health care for all in the foreseeable future. But still, after 40 years of this act, we have, as I said, that 75% to 90% of the people, say, I would say average, if we take 80 to 85% of the people, they are not able to get mental health services. Then it's encouraging application of mental health knowledge to general health care. Now, all mental health problems like depression, anxiety, and so many others, everything does not need to be treated by a specialist or a psychiatrist. Many such minor develop cold, if you develop upper respiratory infection, or so all problems, you don't go to the specialist, you go to the family physician, you go to the primary care, you go to the dispensary, and the simple doctor is able to manage most of the large number of problems. Same, most of the mental health problems like minor anxiety, depression, they can be dealt with by a general practitioner or a family physician. So for that, every problem one doesn't need to go to a psychiatrist. Then promoting community participation in the mental health is, unless stigma is removed, unless awareness is increased in the community, and there is a community participation, so you can't have a good service development or people, even if services are existent. Like I said, that even at AIIMS, 4 patients who are living the campus did not come for treatment for years. So these are the things we need a multi-focus approach, approaching, say, accessing general healthcare services, community, removing stigma, raising community awareness, and in addition, ensuring availability of the services. Even if you make the services available, if the patient don't come, that considering that they don't suffer from illness, they don't need help, so the services would remain waste. So we need to act on all these. District mental health program is this is a offshoot of the national mental health program. Like, districts have been taken as a units to implement the national mental health program. Why districts? Because districts is a smaller place, it's easier to access the services. The manpower in the district, the doctors, community health workers, paramedical workers, they would be provided training under the district mental health program. So that, and there would be a special clinic available at the district level, and the person can also do the community clinics maybe twice in a week, twice in a month, also we can visit the primary health centers. Or so this is a way of decentralizing the services. So that's how the district mental health program, this came into being. Started in sometime in 1995. Initially, the 4 districts were adapted, and gradually this number was increased. And in the last, till 5 years ago, the number was around 200. And now, in the current 5-year plan, they have been able to, the Ministry of Health has been able to adapt most of the districts in the country. We came with a mental health policy in 2014 on 10th October. That is the mental health, World Mental Health Day. The current health minister, who was also health minister at that time, he had, Dr. Harshvardhan had come out with a mental health policy, which aims at providing universal access to mental health care, increasing access to and utilization of comprehensive mental health services, reducing prevalence and impact of risk factor. Again, it's a somewhat similar thing, being present in the different words, but at least till 2014, we never had mental health policy in our country. That was a in 1987, we had come out with a Mental Health Act, which had a number of reforms, and Mental Health Care Act of 2017, which came in the background of UNCPRD, United Nations Convention of 2006, and which is more focused on the human rights. and it has done number of there have been a number of changes in the terminology, but otherwise the main focus on the rights of rights for the persons with mental illness. So this is one of the recent developments in the field of mental health, that rights of the persons with mental illness have been given more significance, as has happened with the Rights of Persons with a Disability Act, with which most of you would be familiar with, that covers your area. So, like in the rights of persons with mental illness, there has been, it has listed these and given in more detail about all these, like right to access mental health care, right to community living, right to protection from cruel, inhuman and degrading treatment, right to equality and non-discrimination, right to information, right to confidentiality, and so on. This is a program of WHO, Mental Health Gap Intervention Action Program. WHO has come out with the guidelines for the doctors who are working in a primary care. As I was saying, that most of the mental health problems or the mental disorders, they can be managed by a doctor who is working in a primary care setting, PSC or community setting, or by a family physician. So this gives a guidance notes on treatment of common mental disorders within the community. Just a brief, this rights of persons with disability act, RPWD Act, came in 2016, which was a much improvement over the previous act of 1995. This was again in lines with the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which was adopted by United Nations on 13th December 2006. And it has expanded the number of disabilities from 7 to 21, has also included mental illness and mental retardation, and gives the details about disability certification and so many other things. Again, I won't be going into those details. This is a small compendium on mental disorders in Hindi, which we had published sometime back. This is also available on the website of AIIMS. This is for just for family members of the patients or for the patients. Giving in, it's just I think 15 or 16 pages booklet, not a very big compilation. Now, what we can do for prevention and for mental disorders. As I was saying, mental health promotion, which includes healthy lifestyle, staying away from drugs and alcohol, taking adequate sleep. Now, taking adequate sleep is very important. I often say that one should not be playing with the nature. Nature has made day for wakeful activities, and night for sleeping. Plays with the nature, you start remaining awake till 2, 3 a.m. and keep on confined to Facebook and WhatsApp and so many other things, and on the mobile phone, that is going to definitely affect your physical health as well as mental health. A regular schedule of physical exercise, 30 to 40 minutes or 45 minutes of any kind of exercise, simple strolling, walking, jogging, depending on your age, how is your fitness, staying away from drugs and alcohol. Early intervention in case of any mental health issues, culturally sensitive early intervention across different settings, simple meditation, pranayam, any kind of meditation, Alom Vilom, which has been very popularized by Swami Baba Ramdev. These are the things which we are helpful in mental health promotion. Then intervention to reduce the long-term negative impact of low socioeconomic status of childhood. Like this is again poverty alleviation. Again, that's more of a political kind of thing. But providing support, removing poverty, that helps in reducing the childhood stresses. And nutrition. There have been a number of initiatives by the government, like giving the food during in the most of the schools that is provided. So these are the initiatives to improve the cognitive ability of the children. so that improves their mental health and reduces the incidence of the mental health problems as well as the physical problems. Their focus is more on the physical problems, but that also helps in improving, protecting against mental disorders also. So these are some of the primary prevention strategies. And acting on risk factors like child abuse, there's a lot of focus on this in the recent years. The childhood abuse has been associated with higher prevalence of mental disorders as the child grows old. Child protection, many of you have been involved, might have been involved in these areas also. Now, what can be the actions at individual level? Again, I am repeating. Regular physical exercise, sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep is, I won't say 6 to 8 hours, sleep for 7 to 8 hours, adequate diet, regularity of daily routine, maintaining daily routine is very important. Communication amongst the colleagues, within the family, within the friend circle, neighborhood, everywhere, socialization, staying away from drugs, smoking, alcohol, stress management, yoga, meditation, regular light exercise. So I am just focusing again and again on these because these are the important components for good mental health. Some of the other things which are important to promote mental health is pregnancy care, early childhood interventions, socioeconomic empowerment of women, programs targeted at vulnerable groups like elderly, minorities, persons exposed to trauma, disasters, mental health promotion at schools, workplace, community, housing for all, violence prevention. These are some of these things which are done at the level of the government, controlling substance use. So this, as a professionals, as we need to put emphasis in our all correspondence whenever we are corresponding with the persons who matter to the agents, to the government agencies, that these are the important components. Wherever we can be, this would be helpful. So I'll conclude here just by the message: there is no health without mental health, and mental ill health is a major contributor to the disability adjusting life years and global burden of disease. And following some simple habits can keep one's mental health at an optimal level. One should not shy away if one has one mental health problem, and one should seek help. And there's a need for better budgetary allocation for mental health and policy initiatives in this area at the level of the policy makers and at the level of the government. I thank you all for your kind attention. And with this, I am concluding. I would invite any questions and.
Thank you, Dr. Chadha. Very comprehensive presentation, as well as guidelines of better mental health. Now I invite questions from the audience. I think there are a big number, 115 people are attending. Pragati,
Sir. Yes, sir.
Can you address to the audience for questions?
Yes. Now we are inviting the questions.
They should identify themselves and address their questions to Dr. Chadha.
Good evening, sir. I would like to ask one question, sir. What are the food items have to take to decrease the stress and depression? What are the food items the patient have to take for decreasing the stress and depression?
There's no food item specifically. It's just a healthy, nutritious diet, which we often take. It's normal food which we take at home. Fresh food, I would say, fresh fruits, vegetables, milk, anything. Don't too much of fried food is definitely not good for health. Too much of say Western foods like burgers and pizzas and which are more and more advertisements you see on the and all kinds of schemes. One burger free with one burger, one pizza free with one should. So,
Okay, sir.
homemade food is the best. Homemade food.
Okay, sir. Okay. And one more question is there. What is the most important yoga activity have to do the patient for decreasing the stress and depression level? In yoga, different types of pranayams are there, or different types of activities are there. Mostly, which activity is more useful for reducing the stress and distress, depression of the patient?
See, I'm not yoga expert, so but the simple thing is simple breathing exercises, deep breathing exercises, or simple pranayam, or any kind of meditation. Any kind of meditation. I won't say that you start following what Baba Ramdev is doing on the street. Means a simple pranayam, deep breathing, which we call deep abdominal breathing also. Just take deep breathing for 5 minutes and concentrate on your breathing movement. So that is a thing, or any kind of meditation you can learn from. So that is a thing. And what I advocate for this is deep breathing, or we also call it abdominal breathing, or this alom vilom. Alom vilom is a very simple kind of exercise. So because if you start doing other kinds of asanas, so I'm not expert on that, and it's likely that you may develop some other physical problems, and you need to visit your orthopedic surgeons for getting corrected those.
I have read in a book that deep breathing exercise increases the GABA chemicals in the brain, which is helpful for neuron nutrition.
Yeah, anxiety, which would help in reducing the anxiety. So that's because of the deep breathing exercise.
Okay,
Okay, sir.
we can take next question.
Yeah.
Sir, before anyone is coming, is there anyone? Rajesh ji, kindly mute your mic.
Okay, ma'am.
Rajesh
Okay,
ji,
ma'am.
kindly mute your mic.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
So, sir, before taking other question, you were saying that first on a sleep is very important to maintain the physical and mental health. But now we are seeing that because we all know that 6, 7 to 8 hours sleep is necessary, but we cannot do it.
See, again, if you don't sleep for that much time, that's going to affect your physical as well as mental health, your efficiency. You may be able to work for some days, maybe some weeks. You may be an exceptional person like Modi ji, so that's a different situation. Some persons who have that kind of stamina, they may sleep for just 4 hours, 5 hours, or 6 hours, and are able to maintain. But that doesn't. That definitely affects your physical health, mental health. In the long run, it would have adverse effects. So it's better to stick to it. On a particular day or for 3 days, you have more work, you may do that, but don't make it a routine. The other thing is too much of tea, coffee, or any intoxicant. Means tea, coffee, anything. So one needs to keep a control on these. Excess of everything would be bad. Actually. So that's a message which I would like to give.
Sir, do you think that in India, the number of professionals are less, like psychiatrists? In every districts of the India, I think psychiatrists are very less. As I have my experience in my life. So,
you're
Agreed.
Yeah, we have less, like we have maybe having around 7,000 psychiatrists in India, and number of Indian psychiatrists in England would be around 5 to 6,000. Number of psychiatrists of Indian origin in USA would be more than 10,000. So there are almost 3 times the Indian psychiatrists in the outside India. So
So that means the governments are doing very less expenditure on the mental health issues.
yeah, that's why I said that it's just 1% of total budget, but all disorders need not be treated by the psychiatrist. Other thing is we have a very good family system. It's the families which take a lot of care of the persons with mental health problems. Then there is an inequitable distribution. There are the psychiatrists are more, or that would be true of all specialists. They are more concentrated in the bigger cities, and so there would be less in the, like for example, northeast. The number would be much less. States of Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh has because had not no Jharkhand has, Chhattisgarh does not have, because Jharkhand had two big mental health institutes, La Central
Yes,
Institute,
sir. CIP Ranchi.
CIP and Rinpas. Yeah? So these are the two big hospitals there. So that way, but most of the other number of other states, Odisha has much less number of psychiatrists. So there's an unequal distribution. So that's how.
And one thing I have observed in my life that
Rajesh, please give other chance. Please give chance to other people also
okay.
to interact with sir. Sir, there is an question in a chat box in which the person want to know how to reduce stress. How a parent having a children with disability can reduce their stress and anxiety. It's related to burnout of the parents.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question. First thing that parents have to set example themselves. Like parents should have a regular routine of sleep and waking. They should also restrict their use on, because children would be learning from the parents. They also have to restrict their use on the mobile phones and this modern gadgets. You would often see, it's not an uncommon scene. The mother is, there's a 1-year-old child, and the mother has put the something on the phone, some musical program, some dance program on before the child, and child is engaged in that. So, if that kind of message the child would be getting when the child is not able to understand at that time. At 1 year or 2 year, the child does not have any understanding of what is happening. Yeah, so mother is doing her own work and she is engaging, putting the child in such situation. So we have to go for that, and you have to interact with the child. You have to spend time with the child. If one parents spend time with the child, definitely chances of the children engaging on these gadgets would definitely be number of hours they would spend would be less. And you can't completely remove, because these are a part of now the modern teaching. And the last 7-8 months, all teaching has been taking on the virtual media, and so much IT technology has, but it should be used properly. Like such things like no Wi-Fi after 9 p.m. or after 8 p.m. So these kind of things, and the outdoor activities should be encouraged. Unfortunately, in the last almost I would say 30 years, it's not a, because IT has come in the last 10 or 15 years. Before that, first the color television and the cable TV and so many other channels, they came and they reduced the outdoor activities of the children. Now, other thing is that is something which is there has been too much competitiveness as competitions, and so many on the all summer vacations are being used for coaching, and that's the society, that something has to be done at the society level.
Yeah, Pragati, if there are no questions, we like to conclude.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Chadha. Thanks to Himanshu Das and Nachiketa sir. Mental health was being talked about when I joined NIH. Working with Blue Star operation victims, Bhopal gas victims, IPKF casualties, And the question about the child, how to minimize the stress of a parent. I was employed in a crisis intervention unit. So that was considered to be an electronic instrument in NIVH in the age of Braille and moving stick, Braille books. What is this? But the whole Bhopal was being vacated. I was sent there for crisis intervention. So that's how it's very important. In children, crisis intervention starts from denial to recognition to acceptance. There is no awareness. Parents wants to know, explain them, disability quantification, and then concession and facility services available. If it is explained to them, stress will be minimized because they feel happy, I am doing something for my child. But without awareness and disability quantification, nothing happens in the life of child. So that's why disability quantification is being emphasized, and role of mental health professionals is being considered important in the field of disability. So I hope under the esteemed leadership of Himanshu Das and Nachiketa ji, these national institutes have grow and develop. This reminds me, my friend Dr. B.K. Menon, senior colleague rather, with whom we have grown. He was in PGI, he moved to ICMR to NIMH. From PGI, I moved to NIBH. So that's how he has given a name to NIMH. In the same way, the national institutes were known now after 40 years. I am happy to listen all this and see all these developments, and very happy to participate, and thankful to Dr. Chadha who has spared his valuable time, and both the directors and organizers from both the institutes, Himanshu ji and Nachiketa ji and Pragati with her whole team. So thank you very much. Wish you all the best, and hopefully we will meet again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam, you can announce, Pragati Madam, you can announce for tomorrow's program.
Yes,
Since
yes.
we are having tomorrow's program at 11 o'clock.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So people are asking about the other series of webinars. Then there is a second webinar of the series tomorrow, 11 to 12, and Dr. Saroj Arya will be the speaker for tomorrow's webinar, and she is taking the topic of mental health related to mental health issues related to COVID-19. So I think Ramchandran.
Third day also.
Okay. Then the third day there will be another webinar which is from 3:30 to 4:30. Dr. Lakshmi Vijay Kumar will be the speaker of that webinar, and she is taking exclusive presentation on the suicide prevention, mental health and suicide prevention. So these will be the other webinars which we are doing in collaboration with the NIPMED. And then from the side of NIMHR, there are other 2 webinars which was on 12th and 13th. Definitely we will share these on group. Thank you so much for the participation. Thank you so much all.
Thank you, Pragati. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. TV Singh sir, namaskar sir. Thank you, sir.
Namaskar.